Greetings of today. My name is Anitha Dakamarri. I'm not going to describe too many things about me. At the end of the presentation, you will see, my link. You will see my LinkedIn details, and you can connect with me. Happy to connect and happy to talk about this presentation or talk about any interesting security topics. With the time given, let's get started. Today, I'm going to talk about open source software security and the current state of the, open source software security and the issues, and my idea of implementing, SBOM, how it will help. So as I was talking, the current state of open source software security or software composition analysis, whichever name you call it as, like now in the most of industries, most of the organization, they think open source software is like now scanning along with your source code, using the same vendor or using the same solutions and working on the remediation. So scanning is for the detection, and working on the remediation is like responding to the detections. So which I'm talking about is more holistic approach of baking security from for each phase instead of just doing it, scanning at one of the phase. So the current state issues are most of the scanning tools that we have in the market, we have in the industry now, they scan the manifest files they catch on the running runtime of the code, and they read all the versions of the software packages, and most of the time software packages are transitive dependencies. They have transitive dependencies means each software package has nested modules. So one of the module is vulnerable, and the tools that we have think the entire software package is a vulnerable version, and it flags it unless we sit with development teams and sync the source code and really look into that. Do you really use that nested package, the transitive dependency that you have? Then only we'll be able to assign the accountability. So there is a little assumption to assign the accountability. And also, most of time, open source packages vendors, they don't release the patches they often they should. If there is a live project called Patch Tracker in the GitHub, if you go and check, all those software, most of the software companies, they release patches for every 5 or 6 years. And also the current tools that you have in the market, believe me that I have myself, I've been in application security for more than 17 years. I have been used most of the tools in the industry, the well-known, famous, prime tools for software, composition analysis. They don't show the alternate packages. They actually detect and they show you this is vulnerable. They never show the alternate packages because it's a version of the packages, right? Version of the softwares that you have in the market now. So product team and engineering team, they never spend time on analyzing or researching to find an alternate package because they are always in the lose of fearing the they are always fear of losing the functionality. And next one is that we always run behind the deadlines, and we have always maintained this legacy code. We always have the incomplete documentation of what we are purchasing. Tech debt is the biggest issue in the industry, in the state of security for every organization, because we always have the incomplete list of ingredients that we use to produce the software. And of course, we always have this a gap maintaining a formal record containing the details of each software package, each version of the software package that we have used in the in the product. So, and also legal risk. Any companies, any organization, they use the software packages from the libraries. They must comply with the licenses. The current solution shows that there is a gap in the license, but there is no holistic way of working on those licenses. So there is lot of active legal case going around usage of these, licenses without permissions or without the, for that particular reason or something like that. And as I was talking, like, each phase we do a lot of things, but the current state talk about just scanning, at the coding phase. But now the solution that I think, like, for each phase, we should have something for open source software. For example, at the requirement phase, we have to review the policy around, like, hey, what is the approved whitelist of software that we wanted to use? We have to review that. And the design phase, okay, this is the approved software, and this is the software that development team or the third-party development shop, which they are producing software to us, they wanted to use it. So you have to review and come to a balance. See that, hey, do you think, like, the software is needed? Do you think this package is needed? This library is like looks out of compliance for our team. Something like that. We have to do those negotiations with internal stakeholders or the external stakeholders. And then, very important, we have to mandate SCA scanning or open source scanning at coding phase. And also we have to, as the product, the 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 scanning is not a one-time job, right? Like, you scan it and you find something and you say, like, hey, this is you have to fix it because it is a critical finding. And the dev team come back and say that, hey, we cannot fix it, and they file an exception. They should actually, file an exception in the only proper business justification that they will not be able to do the remediation within the given policy timelines. Along with the product progress, we have to review those coding standards and say that, okay, we have these coding standards and the product team currently using this. We have to review and, update it as needed. And when we find those security exception at the code phase, most of time those are like risk exempted, not risk realized, right? So once they are, the application, the product is ready on the stage environment or in the testing environment, we must conduct a penetration testing to understand the list of softwares used doesn't actually cause any extended attack surface, which we don't want to get anyway. So we have to do a mandated penetration testing before the production to realize the impact and likelihood of the risk that was assumed in the previous phase. And the final step, once the application is is done, you just release it and you do incident response and you do security monitoring, you do everything, you do dark web monitoring for that application and the data that that application holds. Also, once the application is decommissioned or shut down, we have to decompose, we have to clean up everything that application holds, including data, tools, technologies and the software packages and libraries, everything that has that application, we have to clean up. Along with this holistic approach for each phase, doing something about the open source, we also have to adopt SBOM. Believe me, without adopting SBOM, anything that we talked about in the previous is not going to helpful. SBOM is not a new thing. Like, many of those industries, like, let's take an example of Toyota. They have been using it from 1940s. Like, they have very successful stories around it. Maintaining a formal record of details that you use to produce a product is very important. It's like you just coming up with a list. You might modify that list as you progress developing a product. But first you have to come up with a list and make sure that is aligned with your compliance. In the event of a security, when the event of a security incident or a cybersecurity attack, this list will help to identify that software is actually vulnerable, actually affected by that particular component or not, and it will actually expedite or give some time window for the remediation. And we also can reach out to the suppliers in advance to say, hey, you have to patch your solutions, and you have to remediate as soon as possible. So maintaining this list holistically at the organization level, at the top level, it will help from procurement to the operations. Everybody included in that, developing that product, including procurement, product teams, engineering teams, and QA teams, and testing teams, and infrastructure teams. Everyone is aligned, and they know that what software assets that they have used in this particular product. That helps to identifying both security and licensing compliance requirement very early stage of your software development lifecycle, which is very important, to have that list in handy. And there is an executive order was released back in May 2021 from White House, calling us improving the nation's cybersecurity and mandating all the agencies, including NIST and others, to implement SBOM. And you can read more about them in the given links, in the web links. But what I overall wanted to talk about is that instead of just looking open source is just scan it and remediate. No. Have some policies, have some standards, review those policy standards often, and mandate the scanning and mandate the remediation timelines, and do an internal penetration testing, or external penetration testings, and decompose the application when it is not needed. And also, along with that, baking that security into the life cycle, have this SBOM implemented, which aligns entire organization, and they know what softwares they are using. And that's not definitely a roadmap for the attacker, because attackers doesn't really look into the document that what softwares you have. They just look into the product and try to find out the loopholes or the gaps so that they can enter inside the network. So that's all my thoughts around it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your time. As I mentioned, this is my LinkedIn. That's the only social media platform you can find me. Please, happy to connect and exchange any thoughts and ideas around the future AI dependent security, that's a hot cake in the security now. Thank you so much again, ISC2, for giving me this opportunity. And thanks again, and you all have a good day. Bye-bye.